it's Coach Tori, and this is Raising Runners. We talk running, fitness, mental health, and so many more topics. As the founder of a youth running program, I approach all of our conversations with our youth athletes in mind and kind of have a focus around those things. But as you will see, we are finding that all of these topics relate to runners and people who like to move and do fitness or anything like that. Relates to everybody. Check it out. Hey, it's Coach Tori.
And Jeff.
And this is Raising Runners. And we are here today moving on from all the things that we had been doing. And I don't even remember if we teased this in our last episode, but I think we did not, because we may not have actually known what we were talking about. But we are going to be diving deeper into the gear and gadgets of running. I think we talked about it very briefly in our one little debate. Kind of just like, do we need it? Do we not? We talked a little bit about some of the running gadgets. We talked a little bit about shoes. We talked a little bit about like clothes and gear. So we have like some of the stuff prefaced a little bit in there, but today we're really going to get into it. But before we do that, I feel like you're not a huge fan of like the updates, but I don't know. I feel like that's what people do. So how's the training going? Training updates, because I actually won't hear about it otherwise.
For me, my training is good. I ran 15 on Sunday, and because I felt pretty good on that run, I'm considering running the half marathon down in Florida that I've done each of the last 5 years. So I'm debating between that, and I'm going to give a shout out to the Chester County Winter Series at the same time, because that also is December 10th is the first one of the 5. And for anyone in this area, it's December 10th, January 7th, January 21st, February 11th, and March 3rd. And they're all 5Ks except for, I think the February 11th one is 5K or 10K, your choice. But yeah, it was great last year. We went to it. Yeah, it's really cold because it's Pennsylvania, and it's February and January timeframe. And but it was good. It was a lot of fun last year. That's my shout out. That's my training update. Like I said, I think I'm in as good a shape as I was a year ago. At least I feel like I am. In fact, I compared my 15-mile run Sunday to my 13-mile training run just before last year's half marathon, and same exact pace, but my heart rate this time was 13 beats lower on average. So I feel like that will translate, I hope, in my run next week. I'll let you know.
Yeah, no, that's so exciting. I like it. I know you weren't sure last time we talked, I think, if you were going to do the half in Florida or not.
Yeah, you may see me on the Winter Series one instead. I just don't know. I think by Sunday I'll know whether I'm going to go to Florida or not. I need to be there at least a week to get kind of used to the heat. That's my excuse for going a week early.
Yeah. Makes sense though. Adapt to the heat, shake off all the winter colds.
How about you? How's your rib?
Oh my gosh. I have had such a 2 weeks. So the last time we recorded, I think, was like the day, because I complained about the dog tripping me, I think.
Yeah. Thank you again for that point, because that did win my argument. So
yeah, so it like really hurt then, and then it just was like annoying. And then I tried to do, after I saw you on Thursday, I tried to do like a little run with James in the stroller and the dogs, and I ran like up one street and was like, wow, it really hurts. And then for the next like week and a half, I was in so much pain, like crying, because every time I breathed, it was like excruciating pain. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a nightmare. And then, well, okay, so a day after I did that, then I got my cornea scratched, right? And so like that didn't really affect anything because I was already like struggling from the rib. Then, that's kind of slowly healing. Then we have this lovely cold roll through the house. So James has been sick. And now I don't think I'm actually like fully getting sick, but I'm feeling like, the throat's a little scratchy. And so it's just been like, and I'm still healing from the rib. And I tried to run today. I ran a mile and it hurts a lot more than it did this morning. So apparently running is bad.
wow.
So yeah.
I mean, running a mile and that much pain and wow. Okay. That's sounds like it may be a little bit of recovery time.
Yeah. So now I'm like actually considering going to a doctor for at least them to tell me like, yeah, don't be doing running for like a week or 2 weeks or whatever it is. Cause I'm like, I'm going to probably just, and every time it feels good, I'm going to keep trying unless I know that I'm like not supposed to be doing that. So we'll see. That's what's going on. So I may or may not, like I had said, be at the first 5K. And right now it's trending like maybe not, even though I know it's like a week and a half, 2 weeks away,
No, a week and a half.
week
Yeah,
and a
it's about
half. Yeah.
12 days, 11 days. Yeah.
Yeah, so we will see if I'm running by then. Otherwise, I'll just come watch. So no fun training updates for me. Just further proof that you do not run around with dogs, because they'll trip you.
And we're
But
still
okay.
committed, to a marathon in the springtime. That's what we're going for.
Yes, still committed to the marathon. Although I'm like, now I feel like time's ticking. I have
I
to
think
start running.
16-week program. I'm gonna jump in somewhere in January or January 1st.
Yeah, I feel like I need to jump in now because you're running 15 miles sometimes, and I ran one and had a hard time. So
Well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how
there's
it
a
goes.
mismatch here for
Yeah.
sure. So yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, I feel like I recover quickly from things sometimes, so I'm not super worried. Gear, gadgets, and all the stuff. So we're going to talk a little bit about the evolution, where it started, kind of where we are now, the impact it's had kind of just like in running overall, a little bit personal experience with technology, because I think everyone, running tech is pretty personal, what you like, what you don't like, what you want, what you don't want. And then just really kind of talking about what is the best, latest, and greatest that we have on the market. So delving into the fascinating evolution of running gear and gadgets from the humble beginnings to the cutting edge technology of today, we'll explore how gear has not only transformed the running experience, but also the impact on mental well-being. Yeah, I didn't mention we're going to talk a little bit about, how technology can affect mental health. Again, it's not going to be like a super sciencey discussion on that, but again, more like personal experiences and things that we've kind of seen. So again, trying to tie everything together. So let's rewind the clock to the early days of running. Thinking of people running in their Converse sneakers or whatever, they're like flat canvas shoes with minimal support. Everything was really like simplistic, you running the road, the rhythm of your footsteps. But then as the popularity of running has soared, so did all of the demand for specialized gear. Enter Nike and Adidas. They revolutionized the game by introducing cushioned shoes and arch support, which not only made running accessible to so many other people, but running went from being an activity to an industry. So fast forward to today, we have an overwhelming array of shoes, which we've talked about, and each designed to cater to different running styles, terrain, and distances. The impact of technology, and I'm like just going on and on.
Oh, you're rolling. You just keep going. Go ahead.
This is kind of like our intro, and then we'll go back and forth. The impact of technology on running gear is undeniable. We talked about the compression gear. We have moisture wicking fabrics that keep us cool, cushion systems to absorb impact. We talked about super shoes. Every aspect of running gear has been touched by innovation. Smart fabrics emerged, offering breathability, temperature regulation, ensuring comfort, even during the most grueling runs. The gadgets have become an integral part of our modern toolkit. And then you picture, runner's starter pack with our GPS watches, heart rate monitors, fitness trackers. That really allows us to track our progress, set goals, analyze our performance. So it's not just about covering the distance anymore. It's about understanding our body and optimizing our training. Think about like wearables, all of that technology that we have now too, to optimize our physical and hopefully mental health as well. And then talking a little bit about, I said, the mental health piece. The right gear can have profound impact. Imagine putting on your well-cushioned brand new Nike shoes before hitting the pavement. And it's not just about the comfort, but also it's that psychological boost, right? We're getting that feeling of like, I have this awesome thing that makes me feel good about myself when I'm running, right? So there is something to be said about the mental piece of getting all of this new technology. The right gear can enhance your confidence, reduce the risk of injury, and ultimately make your run a therapeutic experience. Let's see. So where am I even at in what my outline is? Um, so it's just kind of like an overview of the, I guess it's kind of just like a flowery intro into it all, but kind of the different directions that gear and gadgets has gone. And historically, we had no technology to now we have everything imaginable until obviously like something new comes up. Um, let me
Yes, let's
see.
go. Yeah, so if you could, I'm sorry if you were pausing for a second. I'll jump in
Oh,
for
go.
the historical perspective. Yeah, so it seemed like at the time, like technology has been changing slowly. Like for example, I mean, I ran on in my high school had a cinder track.
Yeah.
Technology changed. Everyone has now a tartan track and some kind of rubberized surface track. Um, but all of those were like level playing fields, right? Like they all evolved relatively slowly. Like materials, the shoes didn't change a whole lot. Yeah, the watches came out, but that didn't really change, dramatically the performances. But it seems like the shoe, like the most recent carbon fiber plated shoes, right? The super shoes.
Yeah.
That seems like that one caused like an outrage, right? That one is because all the world records are falling. Which is interesting, the mile world record is not falling, but all the marathon ones and there's many other ones that are falling as a result of this, and tends to be pointed to these super shoes. I guess I mean, my thought was, I think it's just that it just happened to be that there was a leap in evolution, right? Um, that, and you can see the difference between before and after. But people want to change like the record books. They want to go back and take these all out. It's like, you can't do that. I mean, I think it's good for the sport. I think it's great that world records are falling and people are running faster. I do agree there's got to be limitations, and I think the World Athletic Association did put in like a stack height, 40 millimeter stack height, and it can only have one plate. Again, and then within those parameters, I'm sure the shoe companies will continue to evolve, and there may not be another leap like there was with the Vaporfly. But I'm sure there'll be small incremental changes. But I think it's good for the sport. I mean, I know it's a dynamic change, but to me, it gets eyes on the sport, and that's something the sport needs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, imagine if like since people started running, everybody just like there was no world records ever being broken, right? Like everyone just stayed the same. And some of that is due to like those mental barriers, right? Like the 4 minute mile,
Yeah,
we break it and then everyone's breaking it, right? But and that also can be like we learned how to train better, we learned how to eat better. Excuse me, we learned how to cross train better. People are running longer now just because we're able to be healthier longer. Like so much has made it still be interesting because we are learning more, we have more gear, we have more knowledge, we have more technology. And yeah, the shoes are one thing that like surprisingly sparked a lot of outrage. And I think at least sometimes they say like the initial problem was that it was like a test shoe and people weren't able to all have it. And because it had that 3%, 4%, cheating, making
yeah,
better.
hmm
What is the word I'm looking for?
yeah.
Um,
It just reduced the energy. Like there was a 4% reduction in energy expenditure.
right. But because it had that and it wasn't available to everybody, then it was like, whoa, you're hiding this technology, you know what I mean? But yeah, now
Yeah,
everyone has them and everyone loves them.
yeah. I mean, I guess for everyone's benefit, right? I think they were rolled out in the 2016 Olympic trials. Is the either the now Vaporfly or whatever the version was at the time. The Nike athletes had access to those shoes, and the other athletes did not in the marathon. And I think 3 of the 6 qualifiers, I believe, if not 4 of the 6 qualifiers, men's and women's marathon qualifiers, were wearing those Nike shoes. So obviously, the person in fourth place, which happened to have been Kara Gouger, was one of them who finished fourth, um, behind 2 individuals who were wearing the super shoes. Um, yeah, I understand it sticks in your craw a little bit, and it was against the rules. I think at the time the rules did say they had to be available to all athletes. I think was what the rules were.
Mhm.
And this was sort of like, yeah, a prototype, which is not supposed to be used in competition. But anyway, that was just for everyone else's benefit.
Yeah. Um, no, and like I know you haven't seen, I don't believe you've seen Breaking Two yet, the documentary on the Kipchoge's marathon.
Yeah, I did watch bits. This is the one is where he ran he did, not to spoil, not to, spoiler
Spoiler.
alert, he broke the 2 minute barrier,
Yes.
but it didn't count. Um, yeah,
Yes.
I did see, I certainly saw parts, but I don't know if I saw it all though. Maybe I'll go rewatch it because I am watching like old marathons at this point in time too.
No, you should watch it because and I actually I should have thought that we should have watched it and talked about it with this because I mean all of that really highlights like the technology that they're using. I mean all of the testing that they're doing. I mean you see the guys on the track, they come with the little like, blood things, they're analyzing everything while they're on there. They're giving them splits while they're running to change things. And just that's in their training leading up to it. And then they get to where they decided to do the race and like even the terrain they picked was like very optimized for what they were doing. They had the formation of the other people that they're running with. They got the shoes, they got the right gear, they make sure they have their nutrition planned out. So like they're it just shows all of the technology that really went into making it happen, and that like we have the ability through obviously like Kipchoge is an amazing runner, but like the technology that we gave him that made it, not count and everything. But, we're able to accomplish so much that like we didn't know we could do. So just like to continue to improve running, which I feel like makes it really exciting because of all the sports, like, to me, running is important. But like, it's not a football, it's not basketball, it's not, the athletes aren't making this insane amount of money, they're not recognizable on the streets, like none of that stuff. So
Yeah,
it's
I wish it. Yeah, I'm like you. I love the sport. I do watch, like, I'll watch the Diamond League races that are on. Like, I just see them when I scroll through sports. Like, oh, a Diamond League race. I don't know what the sport can do. I mean, the marathon is certainly, a lot of people do them, but and it's on TV. That's probably the only thing that's on TV on a regular basis, except for the Olympics, where you see track and field. But other than marathons, which I guess Boston is on, New York's on TV. I don't, Chicago, I don't think was on TV. Um, but yeah, in the Olympics, that's the only times you're going to see track and field. Yeah, there's not a big clamoring for it. I don't know whether in other countries in Europe, if it's more popular. I think it is. We're just sort of spoiled with four, maybe three or four or five other sports that are far ahead of track and field. But I love it.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know if like that will ever change things, but I'm sure if like people never kept progressing, they also like no one would care at all, right?
Yeah, yeah,
um
yeah. That's right. I think so. I'll equate it to maybe baseball, where the home run race sort of brought back baseball from a strike, years earlier. I think these breaking of world records will get more interest in the sport. So, is my opinion. We'll see.
yeah, no, I mean you would think. um Kind of switching gears slightly, talking about like more specific impacts that run like the technology has had on running. Other things I feel like that we didn't really, at least like I didn't think about until I'm now like looking back on my notes. But even just like modern races, right? Like you mentioned, everybody's doing marathon, like people run marathons who probably don't really care that much about, who's actually running the marathons in an elite way. But um even like the technology that goes into that, right? Like chip timing. It's so much easier to have these giant events that host, 40,000 people running down the street because we have the bibs, the chip timers. We're able to track people while they're running. Just like make it a little more accessible for us everyday people to like feel like we're a part of something really big, which I think is also pretty cool, which I think we don't really talk about when we're talking about gear and gadgets. But
Yeah, I
um
had that one on my list. I said the chip timer is probably, although it's not really GPS, 'cause I don't think it's global positioning satellite, but it's really using a local connection. But either way, I think that's a great thing. There was a woman who cheated. I don't know whether it was New York City Marathon or the Boston Marathon, where she took the subway
yeah.
part way and sort of basically finished first. And for a period of time, they thought she was the winner. of the race. I want to say
Gosh.
it's Rosie Ruiz. I could have that. I'm sure I had that slightly wrong. But anyway, it's relatively famous. I'm sure it was in the 80s, 90s, before chip timing existed.
And then
Yeah,
how
that
they
was.
figure out that she took the subway.
I think people saw her. There was like a bit of an investigation. Um,
Um,
yeah. So and then, like didn't see her on certain parts of the course. So it's like yeah, now with TV coverage, you could never do that, and certainly with chip timing, you can't do it. But back then, she was able to do it and at least pull it off for at least a day or so.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You saw who is it? I'm forgetting her name now. Ultra runner that took a car and has like now had a ban. But she like got third in some race because she took a car recently.
I
Yeah, now
did
she.
not see that. No.
Oh my God. It's like people still cheat at stuff. That's insane to me. I can't, it like blows my mind every time I think about it. I'm like, what the heck? But anyway, and
Yeah.
I'm mad I can't remember her name, but yeah, it's like a whole dumb thing. Um,
Yeah. I
moving
won't guess any names because I'll be besmirching other people's like.
right, right. Well, the only names that's coming to my mind is someone who's been accused of cheating, who it wasn't proven something. Anyway, but so other ways that technology has really improved slash like changed running is from a coaching aspect, and I'm sure we can talk about on a personal level, like all of the data, the technology, the gear, whatever wearables, but from a coaching aspect, whether myself or coaches for elite teams or like even high school coaches probably at this point, like you have all this data now to be able to better know how runners are responding to the program that they're doing, because like not everything is one size fits all, even though there is like an umbrella structure that you want to follow for certain goals. But you're really able to see not only how the workouts are affecting them, how the food they're eating is affecting them, how stress at home is affecting them, the weather. Like we have so much information now that we can get just from, you have a watch, right? And like, so many things now about how the workout went, to be able to write better plans, which then are making better runners, which makes running even better. So, that is another way that it really has improved running just in general, because or even like besides a coach, right, like I'm able to go on a run and see like, am I getting better? Was that too hard for me? How far did I even run? Right, my Garmin's going to tell me that was unproductive or whatever. So we have so much that we're able to use now, without having so much, right? Like you would picture going to the lab and having to put on like the mask and run on the treadmill and do all these things to get like all this information. It's like, no, now I just bought my watch and I have so, it's not all the same, but you have so much information available to you now.
Yeah, yeah,
To
no,
use.
no, I agree. I think it feels like, and I'll pick a percentage, right? You can get 90% of the same information the elite athletes can get, right?
Yeah.
Just by buying the several $100 watch. Now again, they probably have a little bit of advantage. I mean, I know you mentioned like for example, a treadmill, like a VO2 max test or a lactate threshold test. They can do those things. Now, those things are becoming accessible for people, but there's probably a little ways to go. I don't think your average athlete is doing a lactate threshold test, right? Where they're drawing blood. But future, I think that's something that will be much more prevalent. But yeah, it's really the only probably a couple things that the elite athletes maybe be dealing with. But for the most part, you and I can get the same data they get as far as run cadence, heart rate. My watch tells me what my lactate threshold is, but it's maybe not quite as accurate as an actual blood test.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
It's crazy kind of all the stuff that we can know now just from our stuff. I feel like that's kind of a natural transition into personal experience. I kind of feel like we covered everything I was going to say prior to in like a bouncing all around fashion, but before I
Yeah.
guess we move on, is there anything you wanted to add about kind of like the evolution of running gear? I know we're going to talk about your, list of gear and things, later on. But is there anything you wanted to add about that or how it's enhancing the running experience? And I feel like that kind of also bled into the impact in the sport.
Yeah, you can tell whether like where do you put recovery on the list? Like with the technology on recovery, is that something you would have put into the history, or is that something in the future? I mean, it is probably a big part of running is finding a way to recover as quick as you can to go out and do that next training session or that lifting session. And the way people, recover, I think there's more science to it now than there probably was certainly 10 years ago on it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can go in like the impact of the sport, right? Like we have things that are helping us recover instead of just like, you go home and you go about your day or you go home and you take a nap. Like we have compression clothes to wear. We have those boots that inflate. We have ice baths. They now sell like special containers that are specifically for ice baths. We have the saunas. We have, massage guns, the roller, I'm sure I'm missing like 100
No,
things, but
no,
also
that's pretty much
know,
it. I mean, you have a lot of ways to recover that you probably no one used 10 years ago. Yeah, so I was just curious where you put recovery. Does that fall into the technology element or not? So yeah, no, I think we're ready to move on.
yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm getting technology, gear, gadgets, like all of it intertwined, but also like mixed up. And I'm sure things are falling through the cracks that way. All right. Well, I think a good place to start for personal experience, and I'm going to talk about my own personal experience with technology for me, but then also just a few like comments on coaching, I think, personal experiences as well. But what kind of gear do you currently have that you consider like your running gear and gadgets? You got your
Me,
watch.
my watch is number one on my list. Watch, watch, phone, earbuds is probably the three things that, after that you're dealing with, okay, pair of sneakers, socks, shorts, shirt. I mean, those from a technology standpoint, really it comes down to those three. And I think the GPS watch is the greatest thing ever invented for runners. Like, I don't know, did they have them when you were started running? Because they didn't, obviously, when I started running.
No.
Because even when you were a kid, and I used to run in a Westchester at the Westchester house, I remember I used to keep a log of running the same route and keep writing down my time, every time I did it. And it was just a manual log you had to keep because there really was no other way to do it. So I think the watch is for someone like myself who just loves to see a trend, track information, data. Um, I think the watch is the best thing ever invented. Just to even know how far you went. You used to have to go get in your car, drive the route, and figure out like, okay, yeah, it looks like it's about 3.2 miles. Um,
Right.
yeah, it was just a guessing game. So yeah, I think the watch is phenomenal. I mean, the phone has changed everyone's life, but certainly from a running standpoint, to have some level of entertainment, which didn't exist again when I was your age running. You just ran. You didn't have music. You didn't have anything else to listen to. You just ran, talk to your friends, maybe. So I think that's another secondary piece, and then the earphones just enhance that experience.
Yeah. So
Do you know
watch
what
is number
technology
one.
you use? I mean, would you? I don't know if I'd consider glasses technology, but they do have those ones now. You can get the heads-up display, which I did not. I'm not investing in those. I'm not buying those.
um, I don't know. I feel like that could be cool. Um, yeah, I mean, I have my watch. I wear it all the time. Um, I don't think I'm as attached to my watch as like most runners though. Like there are days I don't record my run. I know. I literally will never look back at my workouts on there. I don't look at the graphs. I don't look at, I just don't. Um, but I think that's also just like where I'm at currently with like life and running. Maybe if like running gets to be a little more focused and I don't feel like every run, it's like, maybe I'll actually get to run. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll be a little more into it. But yeah, love my GPS watch. I love that it has like the fall detector too. Because I'm like the queen of making sure all things safe. So like, I have my phone I can run with, which again changes things so much for a safety standpoint. But then I have the fall detector as well. So if I fall and I'm unable to use the phone, it's gonna alert my emergency contact person. So like that's just another thing that helps people feel, I think, so safe. So it's just like another upgrade. Um, when I was running at night, I had my headlamp, which was another thing that, they didn't always have. So running in the dark was not always an option. I don't think I ran in the dark often years and years ago, but there were times that I would run at like 5 in the morning, like holding onto a flashlight. So now you're running and the flashlight's like beaming across, the street. So like that was, changes things like headlamp. The running vest. I don't know if that's like gear gadgets to get your vest with your water and all your stuff in it.
Oh yeah, no, I have my brand new vest. I love
You
it.
have
Yeah.
your vest. Yeah.
I almost wore it tonight for the podcast
Oh
too.
my gosh, you should. I wish, because I have one too. We could have matched.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing, occasionally, because with the stroller running, that ends up messing up my knees. So, the knee bands, I'm like listing all the really cool things I own, my vest and my knee bands.
Now,
uh,
carbon fiber shoes, they do count. Do you wear your carbon fiber shoes for any of your runs? I only wore it for 2 races so far. It's the only time I've worn them.
I have done 2 runs with them, and I did not wear them for the half, which was the last race that I did since, the only race I've done since owning them. Because I was just like getting nervous that, I just was like, what if, because I was having so many like potential issues with my knees, potential issues with my hips, that I was like, I don't want the shoes to just be another potential different thing. But I did do a couple practice runs in them and I liked them. So if running becomes more of a focus, I can probably actually wear them. So yeah, I've worn them a couple times. So that's another one. But yeah, I mean, I do, but I've kind of always lived, like you said, we didn't have the GPS watches, but like, I always had a running watch. So like, we would just like time our stuff. I think I wrote things down at some point, but, I kind of lived in like the running technology. I know there was a time where we didn't run with headphones either. Just cause like they weren't very convenient to run in, and then they made the earbuds and whatever else. So yeah, I mean, I love it that way. I think there are times that I would be more into the data I'm getting from all the technology. I think it can be like a fun thing, but also kind of like a trap, all of the technology, because I know I'm constantly looking at like, oh, this watch is so nice. I want to get a new watch. I want to get the new shoes. I want to get the new everything. So you can get like that whole like wanting to collect all the stuff, which is just not.
You're the perfect example of how like people who coach other people don't coach themselves. Like I
Yeah.
do those runs. You're my coach. I upload the data from my watch, which you analyze and then look at and give me feedback on. But yet you don't do that on your own runs.
Nope.
Shocking.
Nope. I know. Yeah, it is funny because I'm like, I check my everybody's runs like every day. I see them coming through. And if it's a run I know that was like some specific whatever, I'm always looking at it and then saying something to them or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I occasionally will switch to like my athlete, because I can switch my final search view to see me as an athlete, and they'll be like, one run uploaded in the past month. And I'm like, what am I even doing here?
Now it's just sad. Yes.
Yeah, like there's no point in looking at this because there's nothing to gain from looking at this.
Yeah.
But
How
yeah,
about how about the running apps? Do you use any of those? For example, Strava. Everyone talks about Strava. I don't use Strava. I feel like I'm missing out on something, but I don't do it.
no, yeah, that was like possibly like part of where I was gonna go with too, with like other people's my experience like as a coach or working with other people who run too, right? I don't do any of the other apps, but there are so many running apps, which are pretty cool too. So Strava is like the social media running thing. I do have it. I've done it a couple times, and I may have said this on maybe one of the pods before, but I just have it's like one more thing that I have to now like record my run in Strava or upload my run to Strava. And it's just like, you flip through the news feed and it's like everyone just like liking each other's run. And it's like, am I only on here so that other people saw that I ran my run? I'm not a social media person, so I just don't really like I don't really get into it. I mean, like
Yeah,
that's
maybe.
one.
Yeah, it's one of those things where maybe once you are able to get more consistent, because it probably feels better when you're more consistently running day after day. And right now with with injuries and stuff, it's probably and with with a baby, it's a little bit more difficult to probably take care of all those things.
Yeah, no, and I know people love it, and they love like, you, because it's like gamified too, right? So it'll like list challenges, you can join different group runs and distances and all kinds of other things. So I mean, I get it. I don't really get it. It's social media is not my place. So
Yeah.
and I think that I've had runners too that are I can think of one runner in particular who was constantly injured from XYZ things, and then was saying like, I know we're supposed to be, only doing bike workouts, but I have to run a 6-mile run this weekend because I need to get my Strava badge for whatever. And it's like, you don't need to get the Strava badge for
Yeah,
whatever.
it's not a real thing. It's not.
Right. And even if it was a real thing, like you need to be able to walk for the next 30 years of your life or whatever. Right. And like
Yeah.
you're injured, you're not running, but you're going to go run because you need to get the Strava, so that's, I think, the other trap we fall into with all of our gear, gadgets, technology
Yeah.
stuff, right? Like we can get so caught up in all of those things. And same runner, the data, we can get so caught up in, and I think I've probably harped on this a bunch of times too before, but like, we have our watch, we have the heart rate band, and it's like, if you're not able to just go out and run, walk for 30 minutes without having pain, I don't think we need to be focusing on what this heart rate is. I don't think we need to be focusing on what the vertical oscillation is. There's so many things that like you're just
Yeah, you got to get the core base down before you can start tweaking the fine lines of. Let's just focus on oscillation. Like at the moment, let's just focus on running 30 minutes without pain, without stopping. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
right,
and the
right.
watch is, the watch is only, it doesn't know you, right? So like I ran I don't know if it was the 15-mile run or the 10-mile run I did earlier in the week, but I think after I finished it, like you said, like recovery time 72 hours. I'm like, yeah, that's not. I'm
For
not taking
who?
3 days off. I mean,
Right,
like it's like
right.
yeah, maybe if this is my first ever run, I might need 3 days to recover, but you're not going to get in shape if you take 3 days off after every run.
Right. And we talked about the cadence lock too, right? Like our technology is not, bulletproof. It still gets confused, right? It thinks your heart rate is your cadence or your cadence is your heart rate. I forget which one it is, but yeah, like, we have all these things and we rely on them so heavily because we have so many cool gear and gadgets. And then it's like, yeah, it's not perfect.
Yeah, in fact,
um,
you mentioned that, and I was out lifting the other day, and I saw my heart rate was like 203 beats a minute. I thought I was having a heart attack. I didn't feel bad, but I'm like, oh my god, why was my heart at 203 beats a minute? And I had no idea what it was. It did it for about 15 minutes. I had to scrap the data. I didn't upload it into the thing because it said the workload for that time was X, Y, and Z, but that was assuming I was at 203 beats a minute for 15 minutes, which I wasn't. So
well,
anyway, I'm gonna get the heart rate chest strap,
yeah,
because as you said, just after you said that, mine went screwy. So
yeah, it is, right. We get so sucked into it and it works so well until it doesn't work so well. Um, but yeah, so, personal preferences, we talked a little bit about that. I guess positives for mental health with, all the running gear. I think I mentioned in like the way first part, with like, even just the running, we figured out how to make running shoes cushiony. We made them more supportive, which I have my own thoughts on the running shoe industry and running shoes in general, but more people are feeling like they can get these shoes to be able to run when they thought they would never be able to run because of different pains or different ways their feet are structured. So just on that aspect, the technology we're able to have with, hold on, what am I hearing? Okay, where were we?
I think we're getting into mental health, but I wasn't
Uh,
sure where you were taking it.
who knows? Me
Yeah,
either.
I was gonna jump in, but I'm like, I'll just let you go because I don't exactly know how to jump in on this one.
Oh, I think I was talking about how, because of the improvements in like shoes being not just like a one size
Oh
fits
yeah,
all,
that's it. That was you. Want to start from that spot, or you want?
just gonna keep going. Being a parent is hard. But yeah, so shoes have so many different arch supports, cushion preferences, style of toe box, like, and there's so many different things that they can offer in a shoe that can help support different injuries, ailments, things that people are working with that are making running not accessible to them, that now running is more accessible. So more people are able to run, more people are able to get that benefit of getting outside, moving their bodies, getting those endorphins. We've talked so much about how, adding a running routine can have drastic improvements in depression and anxiety symptoms and just kind of improve your overall mental health. So the improvements that they've made have really made it so running can positively affect people and their mental health. And, also like we're talking about Strava, right? The gamification of that kind of app or other apps like that does also make it more fun to keep being a runner. So, that also can have those improvements in the mental health. Obviously, I mentioned prior about like the downsides of, we can get really caught up in the wrong stuff and like, the social media aspect of everything. I've always complained about that. But there definitely are some positives that the invention of all the different gear and gadgets are really helping to help people be able to run, which is then inadvertently helping their mental health too.
Yeah, no, I certainly I wouldn't disagree with that. That by helping the masses, you help everyone's mental health. I think the part that I was focused on when I saw that section was, is a either a shoe company, a fitness company, the therapy industry, like the people who have mental health issues, right? So it's helping the masses, and therefore the people who are able to exercise do get that benefit. But if you are someone suffering from mental health, how you need someone to partner up with you to get you out and get active. And that's what I haven't seen yet, right? Is how does the therapy industry, or do they need to, team up with a gym? Does a gym need to make availability based on recommendations from, therapists to get people who have mental health issues into the gym setting to get that activity? I think that's the difficult. Who right now, who's benefiting from, who's going to pay for that, right? How is it going to get paid for? And if it's not a financial incentive for the therapist or for the gym company, there's got to be some incentive to help that, and it doesn't exist at the moment. Just a
Yeah.
just a comment.
No, I know. And I thought about that, before too, especially when I was starting the running club a couple years ago, was, yeah, like how is there a way to, even just like on a small scale, right? As a running coach, team up with a therapist of like, how could, that you
Yeah,
run
you
into issues of,
refer certain patients to me, and I'll give them a discounted basis, or some way to make it easier for them to go out and get that physical activity. That's what I haven't seen yet. But again, I'm not that close to it. Other than
right. No, there's like, and there's too many roadblocks with like HIPAA and all kinds of other things too. But yeah, there has to be some kind of relationship that can be built that way. Or, again, with our messed up healthcare system, being able to pay for like run coaching or shoes or something like that, right? To make it easier. But I'm sure we can go into a whole long debate about that. Maybe not debate, but discussion about that. Maybe we'll add that as a topic, how we can fix the problems of the world.
uh,
Um, as another podcast. But before we go, because I'm sure I'm gonna get interrupted yet again, you want to give us some rundown of some gear and technology, gear,
yeah.
gadgets,
So
all the things?
yeah, yeah. So I was just when I was thinking about gear and technology, I was just going like top to bottom, like from head to toe. Where does this technology fit in? And so I'll just go from top to bottom, right? So at the head level, we talked a little bit about the sunglasses. I think is the only thing that in my mind is, if I think about technology in the future, that feels like something that could be beneficial. I think the earbuds will get better, and headlamps and stuff will all get better. But I think the sunglasses with the heads up technology could be something that would be cool, if not beneficial to runners, bikers, to be able to see their cadence and their data right away. As I move down the body, we're going to go to sort of the main part of the body. Doing the research for this, the one or two things that came up that I thought looked beneficial to me. There's a company out there, not to give a plug to someone because I don't know anything better about them, but Inside Tracker. The one thing that I thought was unique about them is they do a blood and DNA analysis for you, and they combine that data to say what nutritional needs do you have, combined from either deficiencies in your blood or from your DNA markers that may say that your propensity to be short in certain nutrients, right? So they do set up both a sort of a training and nutrition type plan for you from that. So I thought that was sort of unique, a little bit different. I don't know how much from a DNA perspective your running performance, obviously it is impacted by your DNA, but that knowledge, how much of it could you actually change? I don't know. But it was interesting. And I did talk a little bit about, you know, blood lactate analyzers. Today they're more like they were 10 years ago for blood glucose, right? So people who had diabetes just prick their finger 1,000 times and do a blood, touch the scanner to it and get a reading. And that's what you have to do now to do, lactate threshold testing. But they now have continuous glucose monitoring that you can attach to your arm, and you can get that on a real time basis throughout the day and not have to do it by pricking your finger. To the extent that they can get that technology for lactate, then you can sort of be another data point. You can get real time while you're running where your lactate levels are. To me, that will be, again, I think it's talked about,
Mhm.
but it's not there yet. That's something that if they do come up with that one, I might do that one too.
Yeah.
Um, didn't hit this one before, but red light therapy from a recovery standpoint, a lot of podcasts, they did talk about the studies on red light therapy and how it can help the mitochondria and help with recovery, both with injuries as well as just overall body recovery. Um, that is one where, again, I might look into a little bit more and maybe spend a little bit of money just on a little bit of red light therapy. I'm not saying it's going to help me grow hair again. If that is one of the benefits, I'm not doing it for that reason. Um, then we go to smartwatches. I think those will just continue to get better. I don't know that. I mean, what we is that the iPhone hasn't changed a whole lot in the last 5 years, 10 years, but smartwatches. I don't know. Could they get exponentially better in the next 5 years? I don't think so. One other item was a GX sweat patch. I thought was interesting. That one there that you attach it to your forearm, and it will do sort of an electrolyte analysis real time to show you what you need. So if you are short on sodium or magnesium or other things as you're working out, you'll know to do a liquid IV type thing to recover.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about shoes, shoes. I don't see anything else on the foot side. I mean, there are a lot of wearables on the foot to show you cadence, but in my opinion, I don't know, can they do much more than what the watch can do? Maybe it's a little bit more direct. You can see a little bit more of the force impact if you have a shoe wearable versus your watch, but I don't know that I see people getting those. Um, and we talked a little bit about on the recovery side. I think they're the one that I hear on another podcast is a like sleep therapy and having a cooling device on your mattress to keep you cool while you sleep. Is some that are AI connected that will then monitor your sleep performance, so they'll know whether you're in deep sleep, light sleep, REM sleep, and they also will know what your tendency is to whether it's to wake up or go further deeper with the temperature changes. So there are some out there that do that. That's another recovery futuristic type thing that's out there.
Wow.
That's it. That's my list. That's my list of, besides all of the thousand other things of journaling and socks and hats that are out there. I try to stick with the tech side.
Yeah, I feel like the list can be endless, right? We picked a very broad idea to talk about. Um, but no, I thought this was good. Things I forgot to mention at the start of the episode, which sorry, because now I feel like no one's gonna hear it because the episode's basically over. But anybody who's a Spotify listener, which apparently there's not a lot of you, like 90% of the audience is Apple people, which I get it. I also listen to podcasts on Apple, but Spotify Wrapped just came out. So we got some fun data I didn't even get to share this with you because I just saw it today. From Spotify on the Spotify listeners. If you haven't listened to the episode with Sam from Recovery Ranch talking about his recovery journey, but also working at a recovery treatment center and running and how they incorporate movement. That was our most popular episode to date for 2023. So definitely give that one a listen if you haven't checked that one out. It was a great episode, right?
Yeah, way to go, Sam. Man, that's awesome.
I know, Sam is the best. And that was a really fun. I thought it was a great chit chat. He is so personable and shares, personal things about himself, but also seems really knowledgeable about what he does, passionate for the work that he does. Seems to know so many really cool people that he's met through his journey. So he talks a lot about running and walking and hiking and movement and yoga, and how those things are incorporated in addiction treatment and how that is helping a lot of the people at the treatment centers affiliated with the one he works at. So that's great. Definitely listen to that episode. Also our episode with, I guess this was just my episode with not Coach Joe that we recently interviewed, but Coach Joe from Running Wild Collective is our most shared episode for the year. So I guess that's probably one of the most listened to too, but people are sharing that one, which is great. So thanks, Coach Joe from North Carolina. I did not get to go visit her when I was there, but thank you for sharing the episode so much with all of your Running Wild people. Love it. And thank you everybody who listens and continue to listen. It sounds like we got a lot of new people in the past year. This was our first full year podcasting because it started in the middle of 2022. So it's been a fun year. Gained a co-host, have moved locations multiple times in my house. We've gone through a bunch of different iterations of style of episode, I think, with guests and then different kinds of chit chat. So we are still kind of continuing to workshop that, but the year's not over, but fun little shout out.
It feels like this is like a year in review here. This is perfect.
Yes. Yeah. If you do like a Spotify, because I don't listen to music on Spotify either, but for people who listen to music there, they like go through all of the music you listen to or the podcast you listen to for the year on there. And give you like a lot of fun little data points. So I'll have to share because I think I wrote down a couple because I thought that it would be fun to share them with you. So I have to share them at some point. And then, next week, we're hopefully going to have a guest talking about ultra running and kind of creating community through running and running for goals outside of just outcomes. And I'm sure a lot of other fun things. So we'll have that for next week. And then moving forward, we have a couple episodes planned, but then again, always open to more ideas. Anybody who has guest recommendations or guests they can connect us with. We love to chat with other people. We just need to be pretty flexible because anybody who pays attention to the episodes, you're seeing that I am having to get up and back. So we have some hiccups sometimes with recording. So we like flexible people as well. I just kind of rambled on and on. Anything you have as we're closing out?
No, I think that was perfect. That was a good summary on technology, and I love the review on 2023. That's nice.
Yeah, and then we will be probably doing mostly regular episodes throughout the rest of the year. We may take a week or two off closer to the end of the year just to have a break from recording, do a little bit of, podcast planning and maybe not podcast planning, doing anything else of the sort. So we'll see. But for right now, we plan to be regular episodes most of the rest of the year and then getting back into it, continuing through January.
2024 is coming.
2024 is coming. Wow. Thank you. This has been so fun.
Awesome. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe, all the things that you can do for a podcast that you enjoy listening to. Make sure you check out social media, our website, any of those things. If you have questions, comments, interview requests, feel free to email me at marikeyrunclub@gmail.com.